Hi, I'm Rick Hall. I'm a creative writer from Lowell, Massachusetts, and today I'm here to talk about a short story I've written, which is actually a chapter from a larger novel I've been working on for years. I moved to Lowell about 4 years ago, height of the pandemic. Not planned, but it's been a good transition, and intentionally moved here to get closer to the art community and really start. I knew that I was going to be transitioning from the professional world that I was in back then before I kind of let loose of that corporate string, and trying to transition to start working more on my own art. And that can range from anything from writing. I have an extensive background working very closely with other creative people, everything from writers, designers, videographers. So I kind of have a little bit of experience on that range of the needle, but my forte is really in writing, but also storytelling, poetry, and that's really where I'm focusing right now. The transition from the corporate world to kind of focusing more on the projects that are more meaningful to me. I think all along, even when I was in the corporate world, I was still always continuously dabbling. There was that constant pull of creative energy that was drawing me away from, the marketing aspect that I was really focusing on in my professional life, but really hungering to have more satisfaction on a personal level and working on the projects that meant a little bit more to me personally. The transition really wasn't that difficult. I just needed to take a little bit of a break from the professional world for about a month, do some deep thinking about where I wanted to be and to move next. And then, I'm a great self-motivator, so I just, kind of took the reins and moved forward. Yeah, so Shine, I have to go back quite a few years to talk about the history of Shine, because in itself, what I've done is I've extracted from a novel that I've been working on. I extracted a chapter from that novel, and that chapter itself is called Shine. So the novel itself, it takes place actually, it's a sweeping kind of epic story. It takes place on the Mississippi River, Mississippi side, Missouri side, a little bit of both, but also at its core, it's a Gothic Southern fiction tale that takes place in the 20s. So within the context of I'm calling it a short story chapter in itself. Shine is really, at the core, it's really a story about the loss of innocence, because it's told from the first person perspective, from a 14-year-old boy's point of view. And so it really aligns very well with being told from the perspective of someone at that age who still has their innocence about them. But it's a story about that loss of innocence. And it's really about these children, 3 brothers, going into, they're kind of forced by the patriarch of the family, their father, to go into the woods to run, a run of shine, and to bring it in. So there's, I won't give away too much about the story because I want people to pick it up and read it and engage with it. Itself. But at its core, it's really about the loss of innocence in itself, more broadly about an opportunity for redemption. So the inspiration for the story, it comes from a long lineage from my own family. We're a group of storytellers. Some of my fondest and often most difficult memories are from sitting around the kitchen table when I was very young and listening to stories that my father would tell and my mother would tell, and then of course those stories get passed on to the next generation. I come from a very large family. I'm the youngest of 21 children. And so being the youngest, I always felt like I was there as a listener and observer. And so I was taking in all of these stories that were being told and retold. And so from the inspiration part of the story really comes from many of the stories that I was told growing up, and also living and growing up in the middle of a cornfield in Illinois. My dad was a farmer. So really being close to nature. Nature themes are a very prominent theme that runs through all of my work, whether it's through this novel, short stories, poetry, and thus my connection to feeling really connected to the earth and feeling like I get great joy from gardening. So the inspiration is really an evolution of generational storytelling. When I knew that it was time for me to start sharing after I made that transition from the professional world into immersing myself into my own work, I had a little bit of fear associated with that because I hadn't really kind of launched myself out there into the artist world. I didn't have a name or many connections with the art world. So that was also something that I actively wanted to do within the community. Get to know other artists within the community, get to know venues. We're in a venue right now, Curation 250, where the Shine event took place last week. Getting to know the gallery owners and kind of talking to them about opportunities for how I could present my work and how I could share it. It was scary, very scary, because I hadn't done it before. But there were so many things that I wanted to explore. And that's where I transitioned to saying, hey, I want to extract this chapter from the novel, focus on it, channel this character from that first person perspective, and start small. But it blossomed to something much larger than I ever imagined. I was so fortunate to connect with an illustrator. I have a long history of working very closely with designers, illustrators, videographers, so a lot of creative people and a lot of creative minds just kind of melding. So it wasn't completely new territory. What was new was trying to find the illustrator and artist who could channel the visuals for the characters and the setting that I was writing about. So I knew that was going to be a challenge, but fortunately, I had met an artist here within Mill Number 5 at one of the makers markets, and she was, at one of her booths selling her work. Later, when we had a future conversation about the project, she said, it's so ironic that you need somebody who is talented not only in illustrations, but I also have the talent to animate those illustrations. And that's something that I've set myself as a goal for this year, is to work more on that. So, separately from me, she had set that as a goal for herself. And it just so happened that her goal aligned with my goal, so that we could, and collaborating with her was just a dream. It was so easy. I knew what I wanted, and it made it very clear for her to understand what the expectations were. When I was talking to the gallery owners at Curation 250 and talking to them about what I wanted it to be, they even saw a bigger opportunity for the story and how to share it with the public. So they introduced a digital screen within the space of Curation 250 called the Liftoff Artist Spot, where they were envisioning that artists could showcase their visual art within that space and not have to bring their art on location necessarily. It made us realize that what I was trying to do was actually a perfect match for that opportunity as an artist. shortly, as in a few days, I'll actually be packing up and doing a short stint, 6 months, I'll call it short. I think what I will miss most about Lowell is the opportunity it has given me to connect with fellow artists, and not just writers and designers and painters, but artists across every realm. There are performers, there are visual artists, there are musicians throughout the town. There's so much art happening within this community, and it's easy to access. It's very easy to access and very easy to learn about what's going on once you get connected into the community. So I'm definitely going to miss that aspect most. I'll have to kind of start that evolution over in Minnesota, but now I have some experience under my belt with really making connections in the art world locally in Lowell, and I'm going to take that experience and kind of launch myself into a new community in Minnesota. You can visit shine-the story, so shine-thestory.com, to learn more about Shine and any events that might be coming up where I'm showcasing Shine in particular.